Join us now from Sea Island, Georgia this morning, Republican Congressman Paul Ryan. Good morning, Congressman.
Morning, Charlie. How are you doing?
You heard what the Vice President said. Do you agree with him?
I do. I think we should definitely revisit missile defense. I think if President Obama himself revisited missile defense, that would be a very strong signal. I think you could charitably describe the reset policy as naive, wishful thinking. And there are a lot of things I think we could do to turn course and make a difference in this. And I think the Vice President laid out some good options. We should also bolster NATO's eastern defenses as well.
Do you believe sanctions will work? I mean, do you think that this Russian president is so intent in terms of trying to restore Russian influence that sanctions will not be impressive to him?
Well, my crystal ball is no clearer than yours is, Charlie, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't give this every ounce of effort. I don't know if that's going to work. I think Putin is, as you describe, but I do think there are vulnerabilities within Russia that he has politically that can be exploited. I think we should consider targeting some of the oligarchs around him that are his enablers and he is their enablers. I think
How would you target them? How would you target them?
Well, I think you target their ability to travel. You target their international reserves. You target their holdings overseas that are illicitly gained through this kleptocracy of the Russian economy. One more point I'd say. We are a nation with vast energy reserves and potential, but with a government that is seen as hostile toward developing those energy reserves, let alone exporting those energy reserves. If our government changed its tune on that, if we told Europe, we are going to green light these languishing permit applications for exporting LNG, natural gas, to Europe, that could do a lot to send the signals that we are intent on loosening Russia's grip on its energy to Europe and that we're going to be a reliable ally to loosen their grip. They get their money from petrol. About half their budget comes from energy. If we could compromise that by developing American energy, creating jobs here, lowering prices, I think that would be a huge step in the right direction. We're going to move on that in the House, and I think the president would have a great opportunity. Change tune, resets failed, missile defense, smart sanctions, energy.
Let me move to CPAC, and you were one of the speakers. You said there needs to be a vigorous debate, and it's taking place. Whatever happened to bipartisanship in foreign policy?
Well, we used to have it. When we had Scoop Jackson Democrats, when we had Cherry Truman Democrats, when we had Kennedy Democrats, President Kennedy Democrats, we had bipartisan foreign policy. This is not that kind of an administration. This is a far more progressive left administration that I think is uncomfortable with America's superpower responsibilities and status, hegemony. And so I don't think that's what you have with this administration. I think it's a coincidence, but the irony is very bitter. The week that Vladimir Putin invades Russia, the president brings a budget to Congress cutting our military deeply. So I just don't think you have that kind of administration that lends itself to good bipartisan foreign policy.
Let me take you back to CPAC and vigorous debate. On the one hand, there was Governor Chris Christie, who talked about an inclusive party. On the other hand, there was Senator Ted Cruz, who talked about, a different message. I mean, what's happening in terms of those two poles of the Republican Party?
They're within a big tent. That was my point at my speech in the Republican Party. We are not having disagreements with each other on principles or even policies. The disagreements that have occurred have been really over tactics. And so I think we should all put it in perspective. I call it the battle of ideas. It's creative tension. And I don't think there's really this vast civil war in the Republican Party that, like many on the left, like to suggest there is. I think we're a party with a vibrant debate, adding ideas, solving problems, and I think we're going to be okay.
There's no better place to participate in a debate than to be a presidential candidate, as you know, because you've been a vice presidential nominee. So therefore, the question is, if you look at Iowa in a straw poll, 67% of the people said they want you to run for president. Do you want to run for president?
Well, I'm a friendly next-door neighbor in Wisconsin, so what I think I ought to do is focus on my job here in Congress. Janet and I are going to sit down in 2015 and give it the serious conversation and consideration that it requires. We're keeping our options open, but right now, I have responsibilities in the majority in the House of Representatives that I feel I ought to attend to, and then I'll worry about those things after this election.
Would you rather be Speaker of the House?
No, I've already kind of ruled that one out. I think there are other places that I'd rather be than that. John Boehner's doing a fine job. Look, I know he's controversial, but he's doing a very, very good job.
Thank you very much, Congressman Paul Ryan. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.